It's 11 o'clock.
It's close enough. I'll call the meeting to order. Roll call.
Judge Mills,
Here.
Mayor Rios,
Here.
Mayor Cole,
Here.
Mr. Hutt,
Here.
Yeah,
forum observed.
and first item is to discuss acceptance of the minutes of October 1st, 2021 meeting. Nobody has a copy.
Move to approve.
Motion made.
Second.
Second, Commissioner Mayor Cole. All those in favor?
Aye.
Against? Unanimous. All right, first item is discuss and appoint LGC board member to fill the current secretary vacancy.
May I start this one off, sir?
Certainly.
It was my understanding that since Malcolm was the one, Mr. Decal was the one who was technically that position, and Kim Fouts left, that I would assume the role. But I would prefer not to be the secretary, because I mean that requires me doing minutes and all these things. So no offense, but if you like me to let me do something else that is not treasurer, I would not like to be treasurer of the organization. And if you could, since you will always be here, if I could become the vice chair and switch off of the secretary with somebody else, because that person has no sort of authority or anything. We have four, if I may, we have four positions. We have the chair, we have the vice chair, we have the secretary, we have the treasurer. I don't want to be the treasurer. Right now, I'm the secretary, since I assumed Mr. Decals.
No, you wouldn't.
I'm not.
Would be elected by the board.
Thank you,
Yeah.
thank you. Even better, even better. I prefer not to be either the secretary or the treasurer, if we leave it at that. Okay, thank you.
So right now it's to have a secretary, so
Right.
then I make a motion to, you can be, for Pat Rios to be secretary and treasurer.
Can I hold both positions?
Motion made. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. All right. Item number 2 is presentation of the latest LGC treasurer's report. We received checks from all the entities and the LGC contributors totaling $44,000.
I can add that we received a check from Fulton, and the check from the city of Rockport has been issued. So that will go, they'll go in the bank this week. Once I get my hands on the check from, I had to sign it, but I have to give it back to them.
Yeah.
So that'll be deposited. And I don't know where,
The county checks out. It might be in the bank. I know it's out there.
You don't know about the navigation district's contribution?
It's,
I haven't seen it.
it has been received.
Okay, it's not been received. I'll check into it.
Is there more to the quarterly report than just that single page?
It's the only money that we handle.
She's answered about
she's
it.
talking about
Oh,
Yeah.
quarterly report. I'm sorry.
That's the next agenda item.
Okay. Because I have the invoice, so that's what you're talking about. now.
Yes.
And you said that
There's still some funds from the Chamber Foundation, right? That
yeah,
was
I have
received.
not seen that yet either.
Okay,
that's the $15,000.
yeah. 'Cause it goes.
Yeah, the only check that I know that's in hand is the one from Fulton,
Okay,
and the one from the city. I signed it Friday, but I had to give it back to finance and the bill.
You'll get the county one
To the
before you
chambers.
leave here today.
Okay, so they'll either give it back to me or they'll mail it possibly to the judge.
okay.
So and as soon as I get those, I'll make a deposit into First Community. And then we have to vote on writing
You
those
can vote
funds
on
to
it
the,
Now.
What
is
is-
it on the agenda? Write a check to
You can see.
to the EDC.
That's number 4, I believe.
Yeah.
Can you? What is the breakdown of these LGC contributions? Is that a question you were gonna ask, ma'am?
I had
Or
asked
do-
that question, so go ahead and ask.
Ma'am, if you'd like to go ahead and ask questions before.
Well, I had asked the county auditor last Thursday, and then I checked with the judge last Friday because I was not sure what the LGC contributions meant. And I was told that that is a donation that comes over from the Chamber of Commerce Foundation to the LGC, and it goes from the LGC to the EDC.
Yeah, I believe those were the chamber's leadership. And since the LGC is a C3, they submit the funds to the LGC.
They can only do it from C3 to a C3.
Well, so if I may, so this 15,000 is money that the chamber leadership
Collected.
collected,
Chamber Scholarship
collected,
Foundation.
and they give it to us, and we give it to the EDC.
They can't give it to the EDC.
What's preventing them?
C3 to
EDC is
C3.
C6.
Yeah.
C3 to C6.
So see,
Federal government.
they just can't give money between each other. So we're
A C3.
we're assigned a conduit
Yeah,
around that.
and that could be for anyone, but just not the foundation. It could be, like if I donated, I would do it through a C3.
Okay.
Because then it's tax deductible. So,
Okay,
Is the Chamber Foundation not a 501c3?
no, it is a C3. It has to go from C3 to
The
C3.
EDC is a C6,
Yeah,
so that's the,
that's the issue. Can't go from C3 to C6.
But when we get it, well, when the LGC gets it and it's a C3, then it goes to a
It can
C6.
go, yeah.
Why is it okay for that to happen?
I was told from well, LGC, I don't know what the bylaws on that dictates, but on the chamber side,
We have a professional services agreement, maybe that's the
Yeah.
difference. We don't have one with the chamber.
Right.
the founding documents for LGC give it permission to contract with a C6.
Right.
That's the difference.
because you have a contract in place from
It
2000.
specifically says C6.
so they say that we can take donations for that C6.
There's no limitation on the donations that can be received, but it says that the LGC may contract with a C6, which is what you've done with the consulting agreement.
And it could be even land donation. Initially, when it was set up, if somebody wanted to donate some piece of land for development or whatever, they could say, hey, we're gonna donate this piece. We're gonna go to the
Okay. All right. Is there, do we have a copy of that service agreement that I could have? I mean, not
Look at it too.
when I leave.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
I have a copy you can have now, and I'll just make a new one for myself.
Oh, thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Jen, when you make a copy, could I have a copy too, please?
Certainly.
So we have, I've been instructed to ask, and this is kind of jumping ahead on the agenda, items, but it does not matter. That our 2,500 go towards legal fees and having enough money within our budget to have our own accountant. That we don't feel comfortable with the idea of the company that we have contracted out to do economic development being also the same company that is the director on that board being, I'm rambling, I'm sorry, you're taking notes.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. This isn't on the agenda. And you have to be very careful to stick to the language that's written on the agenda itself. So if you're wanting to bring an item for the next meeting to.
I'm not
address
trying,
that-
I'm talking about why we're not going, why I don't want to approve this expenditure.
$2,500.
The $2,500, our $2,500 to the EDC.
Okay.
So that puts it on the agenda, is that correct?
Well, you were
No.
asking for it to be used for something else specific. And what I'm saying is that the agenda item just
I
says,
know, I know, I will.
Okay, so as long as you just stick to the language of the agenda item, but yeah.
Okay. Is that an issue or,
So,
so,
so the presentation of the treasurer's report's done. So can we, let's just stay on track and go to number 3?
okay, yes, ma'am.
Because then that's what you're talking about is further down.
Okay,
We need a motion to accept the report.
Yes.
okay.
Move to accept the treasurer's report.
Made,
Second.
seconded.
Mhm.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Item number 4,
No, number
number 3,
3. Sorry.
presentation of the ECPC 2021 quarterly report.
Side, on the side of it, turn it on.
Oh, thank you.
Share this for everybody else.
Okay, thank you, Colin. And ladies and gentlemen, this is the quarterly activity report for the Aransas County Partnership Economic Development Corporation for the 4th quarter calendar year, October through December. Going forward, we're going to bring these to you every 3 months. I believe the next one's planned for your next LGC meeting in April. So we hope this creates more of an information flow of activity and progress. And feel free to contact us anytime. One of the major things that we did back in the wintertime, fall and winter, was do something called a DRE survey, a business retention and expansion survey, where Barbara Gutner in our office, actually, she spoke with 54 different major businesses in the county via phone, via personal visits. We had a template of a survey that she filled out. Some of the major findings you could see there: that workforce was their top challenge. The drainage was number 2. Housing was also a critical issue. The good news of that information that we gleaned was that nearly half planned to expand operations. And of those, over a third of them needed more space to do so. And so that segues into your Aransas County Workforce Development Center, which had their announcement back on October the 7th. And they're in the grants receivership stage with Del Mar College. They received a $500,000 grant. The kicker on that particular grant is that you've got to be underway by September of this year for certain health classes. And so we're looking for some temporary space to be able to accept the grant monies, which is a substantial amount of money for furniture, equipment, and marketing, tuition, salaries, that sort of thing. And so we need to get the temporary location because the main facility probably won't open until January. So there's a lot of work going on in that regard. And we're really excited. There's some YouTube videos that Del Mar has produced. If you haven't seen those, there's 4 different ones, about two minutes each, very instructive on what's going to be offered out there. We've also did a lot of work on incentive policies that were drafted for the county, the city of Rockport, and the town of Fulton. The local government corporation recommended adoption of those policies. And I believe a week ago today, the Aransas County Commissioners Court adopted those policies. So we're now working with the city of Rockport on those. We also came up with some targeted industries. These 10 are also embedded within the incentive policies. These business sectors came about by overlaying all the various studies and recommendations that were done after Hurricane Harvey. And so these are all good primary industries, all high-paying jobs to the major extent, and some that we could really take advantage of in the future. I've got information on each one of these, but again, these are embedded in the incentive policies as well, that we're going to tell folks outside of Aransas County, this is what we're interested in seeing more of. The new website for the EDC was unveiled last Thursday at the annual meeting of the EDC by Carl Hatman with Persona Digital Marketing. And so the thing about a website is that, as Colin will tell you, it never ends. It's a living document and it's constantly needs to be updated. And so that's live now, and we're in the editing stage of that website. But it's much different then your previous website was to get started as an organization and emphasize, memberships. Now the website is dedicated more toward those companies looking at Aransas County. What do they need to know about Aransas County? Of course, we also have a work plan for the next 4 years. It's got 5 major priorities. Notice the very first one is existing businesses in town. And of course, workforce is next. Instead of the word large, I probably should have said significant or impactful investments in Rockport and Fulton's downtowns, marketing to those targeted businesses that you saw in an earlier slide, and of course, the need for more building space. Each one of those 5, we've got a total of 30 action strategies. So that's what your LGC is going to be working on judiciously over the months to come. And we look forward to working with you guys.
Can we go back? Have you heard this one yet? Have they did it to Fulton?
Mhm.
So I haven't got to ask questions. Can you go
Sure.
back to the very first slide where you have the first of the, can you provide a list of the businesses that y'all spoke to so that we can kind of get,
Oh, sure.
so that we get like a cross section of which
Sure.
ones that were?
Now, know that on a survey monthly type document, it's summarized.
Right,
And that's the way you get
right.
people to participate is that their data remains confidential. So all of the findings are aggregated into a
Right.
summary.
Yes, sir. But we're basing
Sure.
our judgments on your data. So we need to
Well,
know.
just on the BRE only, which
Okay.
informs part of the work plan
Okay.
on what we can do to help existing businesses.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Is there, can you move to the next slide, please? Okay. Can you list some of the classes that will be taught there, like specifically?
Yeah, I wish I'd have brought that list, Jeff. There's quite a list. Yeah, construction trades, healthcare, public safety.
Jeff, if you'd like, I can email
Yeah.
you the list that was provided by Delmar.
Okay.
Be happy to
Well,
do that.
how recent is this list?
It's pretty recent. It's within the last few months and it's general. They won't know until they get up and running exactly which courses will be offered. They can't add it to their list of available classes yet, but it shows you the wide variety of
Okay.
courses. I'd be happy to
Right.
send that to you.
I don't really have like much expertise at anything, but like I did do ESL schools, and my job was we set up programs. I worked with this thing called, please be patient, the Language Academy. And our job was to go out and find universities and things like this and to go within their schools and to sell our curriculum. But you would have to, before you build a school, you have to know what classes that we need to teach. I mean, that just kind of makes sense. And that way you design your classrooms around those, what you need to. So it seems to me that we're like jumping the horse somewhere that we really need to study. That we really need to study and figure out what classes we are needing now. And are we going to rely on Del Mar to provide us with that information?
They have, yes.
Okay.
The contract will be between the county and Delmar, not the
Not the
LGC.
LGC, that's not germane to this group.
Okay. All right. But because we're saying the plan, so I just want to, we have to support a plan, so it needs to be.
Yeah.
Is there a lease agreement of some sort with Del Mar?
It's in progress.
Progress, yeah.
Okay. Is there a reason that we chose Del Mar over, say, University of Houston, Victoria College, A&M? I mean, we recommended providing a really nice space.
Mhm.
And it seems to me that, I mean, I have nothing against Del Mar, but my son graduated high school with 48 credits, and he could only go to certain schools because those Del Mar credits don't transfer like other college. And if I may, I have, am I speaking correctly when I say this? that if we were to pair up, I'm speaking to Michaela, Austin, is that correct? If we were to pair up with if we would have paired up with a different school, say A&M or University of Houston, then the classes that we could have paired up with the high school would have received credit in other places, whereas Del Mar is not as well respected. Say that the classes don't transfer to A&M, and that we really, at this opportunity, we lost a really good opportunity for the EDC to really work with the school and find a service provider that match needs. Because as I read this, we are supposed to provide workforce training, but none of us here are the experts
No, Del
on
Mar
this
is.
subject.
Del Mar is the expert. So I'm sorry to interject again, but when it comes to what Del Mar does with the high school, that's a conversation to have with the school board. And if you have concerns about transferring class credits and stuff, that would be a great thing to talk about with the school board. As far as who chose Del Mar, it wasn't the LGC, and that's the meeting we're at right now. So
Okay.
again, let's try to stay
But I know, but we have
closer
to, I
to,
understand, we have
that's
to
been done.
support
That
these
is-
things. Okay, that's
understood.
fine. All right, if you could go on to the next one. And the next one. Do you have examples of like what type of aviation related? I mean, I really want to get down to marine related as pertaining to the navigation district. But if you could actually go and just list me some examples of like what type of aviation related, what do you mean by information tech and these sort of
Well,
things?
sure, all of those are considered primary employment other than your retail sector
Right.
and workforce housing. Everything else would be considered in post-secondary education. 7 out of 10 are what's known as primary employment.
Is there anything specific? Are there any specific industries that we're targeting? Any specific businesses or types of
By
businesses that
name,
were?
no, not at this point. This is all preliminary.
Oh, this is all preliminary.
Oh, yeah, we're just.
Okay. Why is workforce housing a targeted industry?
Well, it was identified as a need, not only in your VRE survey, but all the documents that came out of post-Harvey as a need in Aransas County.
Can you define what you mean by
Well,
workforce
it
housing?
is hard to define because there are different definitions, but the way the county did it in the incentive policy had to do with wage base. So you want to make sure that you're doing something that really is affordable for the working class.
Right. Are this apartments or are these neighborhood?
Housing is everything. They could be
Right,
apartments, it could be
but-
single family, they could be townhomes.
Right, I understand, but like if we're talking about, I mean, you guys are a great example, your generation. I mean, the road to wealth really started with property ownership. So it seems to me that if we're going to be targeting workforce housing, we really need to be thinking about ways that we could create good jobs for our kids to be able to afford housing first. But those housing options should not be apartments and things like this. Were you raised in an apartment? Because
I'm sure I was at some point in my life.
Yeah.
I mean, this is
Because-
a philosophical
the
discussion.
incentive policy defines it as being 50 or more units that are rented for less
Thank
than
you.
market value.
Okay.
And it goes along with the requirement of the wages that would be offered to the jobs created. Keeping in mind that that's just a preliminary policy. Each project would have to bring to the table what type of housing they're talking about, and that would be the best time to talk
Can you
about
tell me-
apartments
can-
versus homes
thanks,
versus
perfect.
townhomes.
Can you tell me that? I guess that's what I was trying to get to. I appreciate it.
Sure.
Can you tell me those numbers again? What's classified as workforce
I
housing?
believe it's 50 units or more that's rented for less than the market rate. And that is tied to, of course, the job creation. So we would look at what market rate would be, and we want to make sure they have a way for people who are working class people to afford to live in those new housing units, whatever they may be, homes, townhomes, apartments, et cetera.
Okay,
Just shoot them a copy of the policy.
and these would be like the government, they're not this, it's section something that's where,
It's not section 8.
no, it's not section 8 at all. I know
No.
that. I don't want to use that term, but it's another, it's a,
Talk about
the
subsidized housing?
developer buys
It would work just like any other economic development agreement in that the developer would be financially responsible for all elements of development, except for what's negotiated. So for example, infrastructure, there may be an ask for some of the public entities to help with infrastructure, but
It's not like section 41, or it's not like.
it's not a government subsidy, it's an
Okay.
economic development incentive, completely different.
Can you explain the difference, please?
I don't think this is the right meeting to do that, but I'd be
Okay.
happy to visit with you
Perfect.
anytime.
All right, we can move on. Thank you. Yeah, I don't want to be a bore, but
No, I'd be happy to talk to you.
can we move on to the next slide? I bet, move on to the
I
next
think
slide.
that's it.
Okay, and
That's it.
do y'all have are y'all doing anything specific to help alleviate some of our, have you thought, or do restaurant help? Because we have, I've talked to like JJ's and I've talked to other people in like JJ's, and a lot of people are having difficulty finding staffing.
Absolutely.
We have
It's
mile
all over-
marker
all over the
9.
country.
We have mile marker 9 coming on. In navigation district, which is really cool, which is a nice place. And then we also have Paradise Key, and
Right.
we have another Palapa. So we're adding
But
to
that
that.
has nothing to do with the LGC meeting going on right now.
But we use it
Just
in the
say on-
presentation.
To be legal, we need to
Sorry.
say on.
That's fine.
On the agenda.
Yeah, I'd
Yes,
be
sir.
happy to talk to you about that.
Thank you.
Chambers involved in that.
Okay, the presentation been made. Discussion. We're going to item number 4, discuss, approve, or disapprove the transfer of 2022 LGC dues to the ACP EDC.
I make a motion, I don't know how to do this, but the navigation district would like it's 2,500 kept in reserve, unless we are contractually obligated to give the whole entire amount. And if that's the case, then we don't have any objection to this.
The interlocal agreement that created this entity set forth the amount of the contributions each entity would make. And it's up to the body total to make the decision on how those funds are spent. So you can make a motion to not approve the payment of the invoice from EDC, but if that motion fails, then someone else can make a motion to approve and it can be approved.
Okay. Can I make a motion to approve it with the amendment that 2,500?
If you
Yes.
made that motion, then you would not be paying the invoice that's been submitted. You understand that EDC has submitted an invoice pursuant to the agreements that were made
Okay, all
with the
right,
consulting agreement.
all right. I make a motion that we do not approve this invoice.
Motion made. Do I have a second? Not hearing a second, the motion dies. Do I have a motion?
I would make a motion that we approve payment of the invoice as presented.
Do we have time to discuss?
After the motion, I assume.
Okay.
Motion made. Do I have a second? Second discussion.
The reason we have responsibility to run our own meeting. As far as I understand, we are a corporation. And like right now, the county is obviously providing us legal services. I mean, is this considered an in-kind donation from the county to us? And do we register it? Because somehow we have to account for our legal services. And we can't we can't you can't give it to us for free because we're a separate corporation. That has to be an in-kind donation to the LGC of legal services, things like this. So if it's going to be an in-kind donation, that's fine. And
I would say it's a donation of my time from me. I practice law separate and apart from my job with the county. I don't work a normal 40-hour work week like anybody else. I'm a salaried employee. You can consider me being outside of my scope of county employment for the purposes of my health here today.
I don't know, it seems a little bit like,
It's perfectly legal.
all right.
So the motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Against?
I'm against.
3 for, 1 against. Discuss and set the LGC quarterly meeting dates and times for 2022. It's going to be in April, and I would suggest the last week of April. Problem of space, as we can see, is finding a space that we know is available. And it's just dawned on me that maybe we could probably have these meetings in the Aquarium Education Center, which would open it up to more people being able to attend. So with that in mind, we could set the next meeting in April.
That's the second quarter, right?
Yes,
When does the third quarter start?
in May,
July.
no, in July.
In July? Could we set the next one in May? And because we start our budgeting, this is what I was told, the budgeting process starts in June. Is that correct for your budget? Your budget workshops and all start in June?
The LGC?
No, I'm talking about for the city, all of
It's July. isn't it?
July.
We'll budget.
Or
We'll have one in
individual
February. We'll start in
entities.
February with that.
Because we could have it in, our budgeting starts in June. If we could have that in May, would that be a problem? That way we could have it before that June meeting?
What's wrong with April?
I don't know, I'd just give them a little more time. That's fine.
It's end of April, right?
It's end of April.
End of April?
Yeah.
That's fine.
Are you saying the first Monday in April or the last Monday in April, Judge?
Last Monday in April.
Okay,
It's the
That's the-
25th.
You got a commissioner's.
Wait a minute, I got a
meeting.
commissioner's court, so it would have to be the following day. If it falls on a commissioner's court day, it'd have to be the following
Yeah,
day.
the 26th. Okay. 11 a.m.
Could we do the time at a later time? I mean, this is, Mrs. Cole works too, but this is and all the other meetings happen in the evening.
So they don't.
Well, their meetings happen in the evening, their meetings happen
This
in the
meeting's
evening.
always been at 11.
I know.
Yeah, but then it might conflict with like my town council meetings and
Okay,
stuff.
Yeah,
Right, I know.
I've
It's
got
kind
a
of so-
workshop that afternoon.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But like, it's just easier for people to make these meetings when they're in the evening than when they're in the daytime at 11. It's right in the middle of your lunch period. I mean, that makes sense. So.
That's why we have it this time, so.
Yeah, so at least they'd be.
Well, it's at 11, but people are like out of the city and they work in Corpus. I mean, it doesn't seem like an unreasonable request to have it in the evening, considering that every other meetings are in the evening.
we also have Zoom.
I've got the 26th, I've got city council in the evening, so I can't, there's a conflict.
All right, so we'll bring this up at the next one.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Do we want to pick dates for the judge in July and October at this point?
Well, I would suggest it always be the last Monday unless it
Okay, then
falls on
it'll be July 25th is your fourth Monday for Commissioner's Court, so it'll be the 26th
a.
again.
Right.
Okay. And in October. Okay, that's Halloween. October 31st.
Okay, well, let's have it.
Come in costume.
What would be cool. Okay, so we need to have it in October though, right?
What's the
All right, so
Monday
let's have it
before?
Friday,
On Friday?
Friday the 8th.
Okay.
are you afraid to have it on Halloween? For how people would come dressed?
It
Too
might
many
be- It
tricks.
might be scary. All right, those dates being set, need a motion or not? No.
I make the motion that we approve the next meeting being set at 11 on the dates, just have it, and that we'll revisit that date and the other dates we approve on setting no time. Is that close enough?
Motion made. Have a second. Not hearing a second. Do I have another motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the dates at the 11 o'clock.
Motion made. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone against?
Yes, sir. Once again.
Item number 6, approve, disapprove recommendation of all participating entities appointing directors to the EDC to place the EDC to be placed on the EDC Executive Committee Board. Well, as I understand it, the Executive Committee Board is appointed by the nominating committee of the EDC, so we have nothing to do with that. Nothing.
So when our representative asked for documents, he was told that he would have to make an open records request for the documents. And how are we supposed to know what is going on when we don't have a representative? You have, Fulton has a representative because
They were elected by the nominating committee of the EDC.
right, but he was put on by you. But we don't, all decisions are made in the executive committee, and and decisions are brought forth, and then they're approved by the directors as a whole, and they're not privy to the information that goes on in those meetings. Your director is privy to that information. If your director, and we're all equals in this, if your director is privy to that information, so should our director.
I have,
And so-
I don't know that this is on your agenda language. Again, be very careful you're sticking to what the agenda says. The agenda is talking about the nomination to the executive committee board of a different entity. And it's not something that this board is involved in.
I'm making the motion that we make a recommendation that we're all equally represented on that board. And yes,
It's not on the agenda.
yes,
No.
it is. Discuss and approve making a representative that all participant entities appointed directors to the EDC. That's right now it's Keith Barrett. Yours is Mr. Wagnon. Yours is Nancy, and I'm not too sure who. Are you yours?
No,
No,
hers is Donna T.
Oh, yeah. that's
Yours is
right.
Donna
Oh,
T.
Sorry. It's Donna T.
but
I think even on the EDC side, we have, if you look at the representation from either this town or the city,
Yeah.
NAB district has been represented, but I think I don't think I've seen Keith at any of the meetings, and he's welcome to share that, and that was the whole.
He's on the board.
Yeah, he's on the board, he
Doesn't
hasn't
attend.
attended any of the meetings, and
what we found,
I think the last meeting was probably last summer, so you know, I mean, the information's there. If they don't attend the meeting, they're not privy to it if you don't attend meetings,
sir,
you know? So that's what I'll leave it at.
right. If I may, you're conflicting the meeting with the general meeting of the directors with the exec meeting of the executive committee.
Executive committee is just setting the agenda,
This is something that should be discussed at the EDC's. meeting.
right? You can send your representative, which is Keith, and have him ask that question.
So I'm gonna make the motion that that the LGC here either recommends that all of our appointed directors to the LDC be placed on the EDC Executive Committee Board. And it's just a recommendation. They don't have to follow
Are
it.
there directors from the LGC that are sitting on the EDC board?
Yes.
No, it's from the entities that are represented by the LGC. There are no directors from LGC that go to the EDC board.
Right.
So what you're asking for is each of these entities to ask their governing body to do that. This board cannot do that. The individual city council, town council, commissioners court, and in your case, the board of the navigation district board would have to vote to do that.
Okay.
Okay?
All right, having all that discussions, no motions to be made. All right. Now, number 7, discuss, approve, disapprove, issuing an RFP for legal services to represent the LGC.
I like to write up some sort of a agreement with our lawyer who is working on
Today,
time.
I'm doing that today.
Thank you.
I'm working today on my own time as an attorney. I'm not saying that I'll continue to do so, but that's what I'm doing today.
Oh, okay, today.
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
that's fine. So what are we gonna do going forward? Are we gonna have your attorney or your attorney work on their own time?
What is the
Sorry,
need for legal services that you
Yes, why
see?
do we need?
Yeah, I'm not sure. We originally used John Bell, didn't we have?
John Bell was to start it.
I
Yeah, to
think the only
organize
legal
this.
work that's been done for this entity was the founding documents and the consulting agreement. And beyond that, I don't know that legal services have been utilized.
So when we have a legal question that arises,
Like what?
What might happen? I mean,
so you're telling me that, so you foresee in the course of all our discussions, us never having a legal question arise about the authority to do what we do, like where we're at with any of this, that we never have any questions? I mean, that's kind of a broad statement to make. I mean, shouldn't we have a
You gotta look at.
shouldn't we have a
Excuse me, don't raise your finger,
Sorry,
please.
I have the floor. But don't we have a responsibility to have something set forward when these questions arise?
If the need for legal
When-
services
when-
arises, I would think that you would engage an attorney at that time. But there's no need to keep someone on retainer if the need isn't there. The scope of this organization is limited.
What is the scope?
Very, very limited. It's to accept donations, right, from other 501(c)(3)s or private entities, or from the governmental entities that set forth this LGC. And then to decide how that should be spent. And sometimes it means that they're asking the LDC to accept those contributions, or pardon me, the EDC to accept those contributions. There's nothing else that this organization
We
does.
accept and transfer the money to the EDC.
So we're just like a pass through to the EDC.
Well, sort of, because there's still an opportunity for these directors to make decisions on whether projects are funded or
And at
not.
that time, make a
Excuse me.
decision, need legal, then we get legal. Any other discussion? Motions?
Motion to adjourn.
Just up on the next page.
So reports.
Announcements and directors, no action to be taken.
Okay.
Motion to adjourn. Motion made and second. All those in favor?
All right.
Yeah, thank you.